"You finally made it," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "I was starting to think you wouldn't show." Ava's pulse raced. "What do you want from us, Grayson?" she demanded, her voice shaking but resolute. Grayson turned slowly, his eyes locking onto hers. "I want you, Ava, and I'll do anything to have you, even if it means destroying everything you love." Liam stepped forward, his fist clenched. "You're sick, Grayson. This has to end now." Grayson's smile widened. "It's already over. You just don't know it yet." It was a quiet suburban street, the kind where everyone knew each other by name, and small talk was exchanged over neatly trimmed hedges. Liam and Ava had lived there for 5 years, enjoying the peaceful monotony of their neighborhood. That peace was disrupted one sunny afternoon when a moving truck pulled up to the house next door. Ava was the first to notice. She peeked through the curtains as a tall man with salt and pepper hair stepped out of the truck. He was lean but muscular, with a rugged face that carried an air of mystery. Dressed in a plain white shirt and jeans, he looked unassuming, but there was something about his intense gaze that made Ava uneasy. "New neighbor?" Liam asked, setting down his coffee and joining her by the window. "Looks like it," Ava replied. "He's interesting." They watched as the man unpacked his belongings, boxes labeled "fragile," an antique clock, and a large frame photograph of a woman with a soft smile. Later that evening, the doorbell rang. Liam opened it to find the new neighbor standing there, holding a bottle of wine. "Hi, I'm Grayson," he said, his voice deep and calm. "Just moved in next door. Thought I'd introduce myself." Liam shook his hand, introducing himself and Ava. Grayson's eyes lingered on Ava for a moment too long, his smile firm. "Nice to meet you," Ava said politely, though she felt a strange chill run down her spine. Over the next few weeks, Grayson seemed to make an effort to integrate into the neighborhood. He joined Liam for weekend barbecues, helped with yard work, and even offered to fix their leaky faucet. At first, Liam thought he was just being friendly, but Ava began to notice small things that unsettled her. Grayson always seemed to know when she was home alone. He'd show up with excuses, returning a borrowed tool, asking for sugar, or simply checking in. His compliments, while subtle, felt overly familiar. "You're lucky, Liam," Grayson said one evening, as they shared a beer on the porch. "Ava's a rare gem. Women like her don't come around often." Liam laughed it off, but Ava felt a knot tighten in her stomach. Something about Grayson didn't feel right. Ava began noticing Grayson more often, not just at their doorstep, but everywhere. When she went for her morning jog, he would be out walking his dog, his route conveniently crossing hers. At the grocery store, she'd find him in the same aisle, offering a casual smile and a friendly, "Fancy meeting you here." At first, she tried to brush it off. "He's just being friendly," she told herself. But the coincidences piled up. One evening, she stepped out onto the back porch to water her plants and saw him standing in his yard, staring. He didn't even pretend to look away when their eyes met. "Grayson's been around a lot," Ava mentioned to Liam that night. "He's probably just trying to settle in," Liam replied, dismissing her concerns. "Give him a break. Moving's hard." But Ava couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It wasn't just her imagination. Grayson was always there. One day she found a bouquet of flowers on their doorstep. The card read, "For the most radiant woman on the street, from a secret admirer." Ava's heart sank. She showed it to Liam, who chuckled. "Looks like someone's got a crush on you," he teased. "It's not funny, Liam," Ava snapped. "This is weird." "Come on," Liam said, shrugging. "It's probably just a harmless joke. Don't overthink it." But Ava knew it wasn't a joke. She recognized the handwriting. It was Grayson's. That evening, as Liam worked late, Ava heard a knock at the door. She hesitated, peeking through the peephole. It was Grayson, holding a small package. "Hey, Ava," he called out. "I noticed your car was in the driveway. Thought I'd drop this off." Ava didn't respond. She held her breath, her pulse racing. "I'll just leave it here," he said after a moment, placing the package on the welcome mat. When he finally left, Ava opened the door cautiously. Inside the package was a book she had mentioned liking during a casual conversation weeks ago. The note inside read, "I thought of you when I saw this." Hope it makes you smile. Ava felt a chill run through her. Grayson wasn't just being friendly, he was paying attention. Too much attention. Grayson's behavior began to escalate in ways that were impossible to ignore. Every day brought a new, unsettling interaction. He started showing up at odd hours, always with an excuse. "I thought I heard a noise from your backyard, so I came to check," he said one night, flashlight in hand. "I noticed your mailbox was loose, so I tightened it for you," he mentioned another day, standing at the edge of their driveway. What unnerved Ava the most was how Grayson always seemed to know when Liam wasn't home. It was as if he had memorized Liam's schedule. One evening, Ava was alone in the kitchen when her phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "You look beautiful in that blue dress today." Her blood ran cold. She hadn't left the house all day, except to grab the mail, wearing a blue sundress. Ava immediately blocked the number, but the unease lingered. She told Liam about it, but he brushed it off again. "It's probably some random prank," he said. "You're overthinking this, babe." But Ava wasn't convinced. One particularly chilling moment happened late at night. Ava was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, when she heard a soft tapping sound. She froze, listening intently. The tapping grew louder. It was coming from the living room window. Heart pounding, Ava pulled back the curtain slightly. There, in the dim glow of the streetlight, stood Grayson. He wasn't knocking. He was running his fingers along the glass, his face expressionless. Ava gasped and stumbled backward. She immediately called Liam, her voice shaking. "Grayson's at the window," she whispered. Liam was furious. He drove home immediately, but by the time he arrived, Grayson was gone. The next day, Liam confronted him. "Stay away from my wife," Liam said, his tone firm. Grayson, however, was calm and collected. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, feigning innocence. "I was home all night." Ava knew better. She could feel Grayson's eyes on her every time she stepped outside. A few days later, a package arrived at Ava and Liam's doorstep. It was wrapped in plain brown paper, with no return address. Ava hesitated before picking it up, her stomach twisting with unease. "Did you order something?" she asked Liam, holding the package. "Nope," he replied, distracted by his laptop. Ava carefully unwrapped the package. Inside was a small jewelry box. When she opened it, her breath caught. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet, engraved with the words, "To Ava, forever in my thoughts." She dropped the box as if it burned her fingers. Liam frowned, picking it up. "What's this?" "I don't know," Ava whispered. "It just showed up." Liam examined the bracelet, his expression darkening. "This isn't funny. Someone's messing with us." Ava didn't need to guess who. She felt certain it was Grayson, though she had no proof. Later that evening, as Ava cleaned up after dinner, her phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number. "Do you like the bracelet? It suits you." Her hands trembled as she showed the text to Liam. "That's it," he said, standing up. "I'm going to talk to him." Ava grabbed his arm. "Liam, please don't. What if it makes things worse?" But Liam was resolute. He stormed over to Grayson's house, pounding on the door. When Grayson answered, his expression was one of feigned confusion. "What's this about?" Grayson asked, his voice calm. "You know exactly what this is about," Liam snapped, holding up the bracelet. "Stay away from my wife. I'm warning you." Grayson's eyes flicked to Ava, who was standing a few steps behind Liam. A slow, unsettling smile spread across his face. "You've got the wrong idea," he said, his tone dripping with mockery. "I'm just being neighborly." Liam's fists clenched, but Ava pulled him back. "Let's go," she whispered. As they walked away, Ava could feel Grayson's gaze burning into her back. The tension between the neighbors simmered after Liam's confrontation with Grayson. Ava and Liam tried to move on, but Grayson's presence was an unshakable shadow. One sunny Saturday afternoon, Ava decided to tend to the garden in their backyard. Liam was out running errands, leaving her alone. She focused on trimming the overgrown bushes when she heard a rustling sound. Looking up, she saw Grayson standing at the edge of his property, leaning against the fence that separated their yards. His casual posture was at odds with the intensity in his eyes. "Nice day, isn't it?" he called out, his voice carrying over the fence. Ava froze, gripping the garden shears tightly. "I'd appreciate it if you didn't watch me," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Grayson smirked. I'm just enjoying the view. Nothing wrong with that, is there? Ignoring him, Ava turned her back and resumed her work. But moments later, she heard the sound of footsteps crunching on grass. She spun around to find Grayson standing inside her yard. How did you? She stammered, backing away. The gate was unlocked, he said, his tone casual as if he were invited. You really should be more careful. Get out, Ava demanded, her voice shaking. Grayson didn't move. Instead, he stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. You don't have to be afraid of me, Ava. I'd never hurt you. In fact, I'd do anything to protect you. Her heart pounded in her chest. Leave now or I'm calling the police. Grayson tilted his head, a flicker of amusement crossing his face. You're overreacting. I just wanted to talk. A car door slammed in the driveway, and Liam's voice called out. Ava, I'm back. Grayson's expression darkened for a moment, but he quickly masked it with a smile. We'll talk later, he said, turning and walking back toward his yard. By the time Liam came into the backyard, Grayson was gone. What's wrong? Liam asked, noticing her pale face. Ava hesitated, then told him everything. Liam's jaw tightened with anger. That's it. We're reporting this. But as they filed a report with the local police later that evening, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that Grayson was always one step ahead. The next day, Officer Harper, a seasoned policewoman with a calm but firm demeanor, visited Ava and Liam's home. She listened attentively as they recounted the escalating incidents with Grayson. He's been watching us, showing up uninvited, and making us feel unsafe, Liam said, his voice laced with frustration. Officer Harper took notes, her expression unreadable. Did he make any direct threats? She asked. Ava hesitated, recalling Grayson's unsettling words. I'd do anything to protect you. She glanced at Liam, then back at the officer. Not directly, but his behavior feels threatening. Harper nodded. We'll speak to him. Sometimes a firm warning from law enforcement is enough to deter this kind of behavior. If he contacts you again, document everything and call us immediately. Ava and Liam felt a small sense of relief as Harper left to confront Grayson. They watched from their living room window as the officer approached his house. Grayson answered the door, his face a mask of polite surprise. Ava couldn't hear their conversation, but she saw Harper's authoritative stance and Grayson's occasional nods. When Harper returned, she summarized the encounter. He claims he was just being friendly and that there's been a misunderstanding. I've warned him to respect your boundaries. If he steps foot on your property again, let us know. Do you think he'll stop? Ava asked, her voice uncertain. Most people do, Harper said. But trust your instincts. If you feel unsafe, don't hesitate to call us. For a few days, Grayson seemed to heed the warning. His curtains remained drawn, and they didn't see him lingering in the yard. Ava began to relax, thinking perhaps the ordeal was over. But late one night, she awoke to a faint tapping sound. She sat up in bed, her heart racing as she strained to listen. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the bedroom window. Ava shook Liam awake. Someone's outside, she whispered. Liam grabbed his phone and crept to the window. Pulling back the curtain slightly, he froze. Grayson stood in the shadows, his face partially illuminated by the moonlight, staring directly at them. Liam threw open the window. What the hell are you doing? He shouted. Grayson didn't flinch. His voice was eerily calm as he said, I just wanted to make sure Ava was safe. Get off my property or I'm calling the cops, Liam yelled. Grayson stepped back, his gaze never leaving Ava. I'm always watching, he murmured, before disappearing into the night. After Grayson's chilling appearance at their window, Ava and Liam were left shaken. Sleep became a distant memory as they lay awake each night, listening for any sound that might signal his return. The next morning, Liam installed additional locks and security cameras around the house. This will help us feel safer, he said, though his tone betrayed his doubt. Ava nodded, though her mind replayed Grayson's haunting words. I'm always watching. That evening, they reviewed the footage from the cameras. For most of the day, everything seemed normal, until 3:17 a.m. The screen showed Grayson standing at the edge of their property, staring at their house. He stayed for nearly an hour before walking away. He's escalating, Liam said, his jaw tightening. We need to do something before this gets worse. They decided to report the incident to Officer Harper. When she arrived to review the footage, her expression grew grim. This is concerning, Harper admitted. I'll file a restraining order. It won't stop him entirely, but it'll give us grounds to arrest him if he comes near you again. Despite the restraining order, Grayson's presence loomed over their lives. He stopped showing up in person, but Ava began noticing subtle signs of his obsession. One night, as Ava tried to distract herself with a book, the power went out. The house plunged into darkness, and the silence was deafening. "Liam?" Ava called, her voice shaking. "I'm here," he said, grabbing a flashlight. "Stay close." As they moved through the house, the beam of light caught something on the back door, a note taped to the glass. Liam peeled it off, his hands shaking as he read aloud. "You can't keep her from me forever." Ava's knees buckled, and Liam caught her before she fell. "We're not staying here tonight," he said firmly. "Pack a bag. We're leaving." They fled to a nearby hotel, but even there, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that Grayson was watching. Ava and Liam spent the next few days at the hotel, trying to piece together their lives after the terrifying events. They didn't know what else to do but wait for the police to take further action. But Grayson's reach seemed to stretch far beyond what they could have imagined. One evening, as they sat in their hotel room, Ava received an email. It was from an anonymous address with no subject line. When she opened it, her stomach dropped. The email contained a link to a website, and the message simply read, "I know where you are." Ava hesitated for a moment, then clicked the link. The website was a private, dark web page, filled with images of their house, their car, and their faces, photos taken from the windows, from the street, from the shadows. Liam rushed over, his face pale as he read the screen. "This is insane. How does he know all this?" Ava felt the walls closing in on her. "He's been following us for a long time. This isn't just a random obsession. He's been planning this." The website had a countdown, ticking down to an unknown time. Ava's heart pounded in her chest. "What is this? What does he want?" Liam's voice was barely above a whisper. "We need to get the police involved again. This is beyond stalking. It's something much worse." They rushed to call Officer Harper, who arrived at the hotel within the hour. She was visibly concerned when she saw the email and the website. "This is bad," she said, her face grim. "We need to trace this link and find out who's behind it. If he's capable of getting this kind of access, we're dealing with someone much more dangerous than we thought." The next few days were a blur of investigations, phone calls, and sleepless nights. Officer Harper kept them updated, but the more they learned, the more terrifying the situation became. Grayson wasn't just obsessed. He had access to a network of people who were helping him track every move they made. Ava and Liam were no longer just victims of a stalker. They were caught in a web of manipulation and control, with no clear way out. As the countdown on the dark website ticked closer to zero, the tension in the air became unbearable. Ava and Liam had no idea what Grayson was planning, but they knew it couldn't be good. Officer Harper's investigation had hit a dead end. The link to the dark web page had been traced back to a series of proxy servers, making it nearly impossible to identify the person behind it. Ava's mind raced as she tried to make sense of everything. The idea that someone so close to them, someone who had once been a friend, was capable of orchestrating such a terrifying scheme was almost too much to comprehend. One night, as they sat in their hotel room, the phone rang. It was an unknown number. Ava's heart skipped a beat as she answered. "Ava!" A familiar voice whispered through the line. It was Grayson. Ava's blood ran cold. "What do you want, Grayson?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "You know exactly what I want," he replied, his tone calm but laced with malice. "I've been watching you, Ava. Watching both of you. You think you can escape me, but you can't." Ava's hands trembled as she gripped the phone. "You're sick. You need help." Grayson chuckled darkly. "I don't need help. I just need you. And if I can't have you, then no one will." Ava's mind raced. "What are you talking about?" "You'll find out soon enough," Grayson said cryptically. "But don't worry, I'll make sure you and Liam are together when it happens." The line went dead. Ava looked at Liam, who was pacing the room. His face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "This is it, isn't it? He's going to do something drastic." Ava nodded. "We have to stop him, Liam, whatever it takes." But as the hours ticked down, they realized that stopping Grayson might not be as simple as confronting him. His obsession had grown into something far darker, and it was clear now that he had no intention of letting either of them go. The final hours before Grayson's deadline felt like a nightmare. Ava and Liam had done everything they could to prepare, but it felt like no matter how much they tried to outsmart Grayson, he was always one step ahead. The dark web page was still live, counting down to the moment that could destroy everything they had worked for. Ava and Liam sat together in their hotel room, staring at the screen. Every sound in the building seemed amplified. The ticking of the clock, the hum of the air conditioner, the faint creak of the floorboards. It was as if the world was holding its breath. Then suddenly Ava's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. "The game is almost over. You can't stop what's coming." Ava's stomach dropped. Grayson had found them again? But this time, it wasn't just a game to him. It was personal. "Liam," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's going to do something. We have to stop him now." Liam looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. "We don't know where he is, Ava. He's playing us." Ava's mind raced. They had to think of a way to track him down before it was too late. But how? Grayson had covered his tracks too well. And then it hit her. Ava stood up abruptly. "The dark web page. It's still active. We can trace the IP address through the server logs." Liam's eyes widened. "You think we can get to him before the countdown ends?" Ava nodded. "It's our only chance." They worked quickly, Ava using every ounce of her technical knowledge to access the server logs and trace the IP address back to its source. It was a long shot, but it was the only option they had left. Minutes felt like hours as they typed furiously, hoping they weren't too late. The countdown was getting dangerously close to 0. Finally, Ava's eyes widened as the location popped up on the screen. "I've got it. We know where he is." They grabbed their things and rushed out of the hotel room, racing against the clock. The location Ava had traced led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. It was the perfect place for Grayson to hide in plain sight, away from prying eyes. Ava's heart pounded as they approached the building, the weight of the situation settling heavily on her shoulders. Grayson was waiting for them. The door to the warehouse creaked open as they stepped inside, the dim light casting long shadows on the walls. Ava's eyes scanned the room, searching for any sign of Grayson. She could feel the tension in the air, thick and suffocating, and then she saw him. Grayson stood in the center of the room, his back to them. His face was twisted in a cruel smile, and his eyes glinted with madness. "You finally made it," he said, his voice dripping with venom. "I was starting to think you wouldn't show." Ava's pulse raced. "What do you want from us, Grayson?" she demanded, her voice shaking but resolute. Grayson turned slowly, his eyes locking onto hers. "I want you, Ava, and I'll do anything to have you, even if it means destroying everything you love." Liam stepped forward, his fist clenched. "You're sick, Grayson. This has to end now." Grayson's smile widened. "It's already over. You just don't know it yet." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small device, holding it up for them to see. Ava's heart stopped as she realized what it was. A detonator. "Grayson, don't do this," Liam said, his voice full of desperation. "You don't have to go this far." Grayson's laugh echoed through the warehouse. "It's too late for that. The countdown has already begun. You can't stop it." Ava's mind raced. She couldn't let him win. She couldn't let him destroy everything. In that moment, something snapped inside her. She lunged forward, grabbing a nearby metal pipe and swinging it at Grayson. The impact sent him stumbling back, the detonator falling from his hand. Liam rushed to grab the device, but Grayson wasn't done yet. He lunged at Ava, grabbing her by the arm and pulling her toward him. But Ava was ready. With all her strength, she shoved Grayson off, sending him crashing to the ground. Liam quickly disabled the detonator and the countdown stopped. Grayson's plan had failed, but the victory was bittersweet. The police arrived shortly after, taking Grayson into custody. Ava and Liam were left standing in the middle of the warehouse, their hearts still pounding from the adrenaline of the final confrontation. Ava looked at Liam, her eyes filled with exhaustion and relief. "We did it. We stopped him." Liam nodded, his face pale but determined. We did, but it's not over, Ava. We can never go back to the way things were. Ava knew he was right. Their lives had been forever changed by Grayson's obsession, but they had survived. Together. As the sun rose the next morning, Ava and Liam left the warehouse behind, stepping into a new chapter of their lives. It wouldn't be easy, but they had each other, and that was all that mattered. Do you think Grayson had a past that's haunting him, thereby making him become delusional? Let's know in the comments. Support the channel by liking the video and hit the subscribe button for more interesting stories. Till next time. Bye.